Okay, guys. Hello. So today we have a little interview with Amanda. So, Amanda, how are you doing?
Hello, yeah, I'm doing good, thank you.
Great to see you. Thanks for joining today. And yeah, so I'm going to ask you a few questions, and if you please could share with me. So, what was your situation before we worked together? What was going on with you, your health and fitness and life in general?
Yeah, so my life in general was pretty good. I mean, it always has been. It's just me and my husband. We don't have any children. So when you're in that situation, you find that all your friends are the same and they also don't have any children. So, we all have jobs, we all work. So essentially, we just do whatever we like. So we eat whatever we like, we drink whatever we like, we stay up if we like, because we haven't got anybody else to worry about. And that's all well and good for a certain period of time. But then when you get to your 40s, you start to realize that that's going to have an impact on your later life. And so what happened was I started going to the gym. I did a bit of swimming. I did couch to 5K. What I found I liked about that was it just told me what to do. So I wanted to improve my health, wanted to improve my fitness, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was flitting about from one exercise to another.
Gotcha. Yeah. So sounds like you didn't really know what to do. You tried, but nothing really did. And what you would say, what was for you like the tipping point? What pushed you over to start to work with me?
I had a regular checkup at the doctor's and I needed to go on high blood pressure tablets. So that's the first time that there'd ever been any indication that my health was starting to be affected as I got older by not having, a health, the healthiest. My lifestyle isn't unhealthy, but it wasn't healthy enough to take me forward into retirement and have an active retirement. So it was then that I started sort of thinking about exercise and diet and trying to and I needed somebody to help me with that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And anything else you feel like that was going on with your health and fitness?
I wanted to be a bit of a motivation for my husband as well.
Mm-hmm.
We live similar types of lifestyle, so I wanted to, if I knew that if I started something, he would probably go along with me and do it as well.
Yeah, I remember. So I think that was a great point, inspire your husband to join on this fitness journey.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, yeah, what was it, 2 weeks? 2 weeks later, did he join?
It was 3 before he officially joined, but the previous week he said, "Well, I'll just eat what you're eating and follow you about at the gym and see what you're doing." But of course, we're very
Mhm.
different sizes, so that was never quite going to work. But yeah, it was only 3 weeks.
Yeah, great. So that was quick. So I was obviously you were a good example. So great. And what you would say? So currently we have been working together a little bit more than 3 months. So what changes you have noticed?
I've noticed, well, I've lost weight for a start, and that was one of the other things that was a bit of a motivator because your weight creeps up so slowly that you don't really notice it creeping up. So
Mhm.
I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to be stronger. A lot of our hobbies and our activities involve physical stuff. So we both like riding motorbikes. We like traveling on our bikes. Bikes are really heavy, and I want to
Yeah.
be able to handle my own bike. We've had to go at motocross and ached for such a long time afterwards that was a bit of an indicator that we weren't very fit either. So I've noticed increased strength. I've noticed weight loss. I've noticed inches off of my waist, so I'm much more comfortable. But I think the biggest thing is just feeling a lot happier about my
Mhm.
lifestyle and not worrying about it so much.
Mhm. And when you say happier about your lifestyle, what exactly do you mean?
I mean that I know I'm making the right choices. I'm not kidding myself that I'm leading a healthier life than I am, because that's really easy to do if if we don't eat a great deal of processed food, we don't eat a great deal of takeaways, but we still would eat quite large meals, and the balance wasn't right either. but you can almost pretend to yourself that it is, because it's not a takeaway, it's not processed, so therefore it must be okay. But obviously my husband and I were, like I said before, we're very different sizes, but we were eating the same amount.
Yeah, obviously it's like a what, 30 40 kg difference, yeah, no, 20 yeah, quite noticeable difference. But yeah, like you said, yeah, sometimes, you know, you think you eat healthy, but it's really healthy, right? And what you would say, so regardless of lifestyle changes, what you would say is the biggest changes you have made so far in these 3 months?
Food planning, so you know, shopping so that we know what it is we're going to eat during the week, rather than just going with whatever there is and buying the same thing. We used to go shopping sort of monthly, so you know, now we think more day to day about what we're going to eat. But the other thing is exercise and having planned gym sessions. So we go to the gym together 3 times a week, and the walking, just moving more, and just planning that out so it happens during the week rather than saving it all up and doing something active at the weekend. But it isn't really enough. You're not spacing it out enough.
Yeah, you are more aware what needs to happen through the week to really make it count.
Yeah, definitely. And it was more than I thought and more than I was doing.
Yeah, now you're really aware, yeah. And a big thing I remember as well, before you didn't really enjoy the gym floor, and that was a place you didn't really want to go, if I'm right.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, I didn't want to go to the gym. And like I said, I'd been a couple of times on my own, and I just used whatever machine was free, so that I could get in and get out.
Kind of tick in a box, yeah.
Yeah, I've been to the gym and I've done it, but there wasn't any method in it. It was just you know, looking at what other people were doing, and then I'll use that machine because I saw someone else using it. The other thing that had happened with the gym was I joined a gym, and I've been a member of the gym for years, but that's mostly because I like the swimming pool. But the induction program that I got at the gym, you know, I'd explained that, you know, I enjoy running. I'd like my legs to be stronger so that I can run a bit further. I'd like my breathing to be better so that I can run a bit further. But what I noticed was that there were lots of other women of my age, I guess, that were all doing identical programs. And that didn't feel quite right either. You know, we're all different and we're all doing it for different reasons. So following other middle-aged women around the gym who were doing identical things to me just felt, it didn't feel very personal. It felt a little pointless.
Yeah, and now I remember as well. So someone in the gym basically made a comment that you're no regular one, you're always there.
Yeah, there was a couple of young lads that were, you know, they were narrating to their friends, you know, oh, we use this machine and we go over there, and this, I've seen this man do this, and then they pointed at me and said, she's always here, which I was, you know, I'm not, but you know, I'm there often enough to be regular pace now, which was quite nice.
It's fantastic, right? How your attitude towards gym to change once you know exactly what to do and what results.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you're always a little bit worried about hurting yourself. If you know, if you've not been shown how to do things properly, or you know, you're overusing one set of muscles. You know, if you're always just doing your arms, or you know, and there's so many different muscles in your arms that you need somebody to tell you how often you can do the different types of exercise. So it was also that worrying about injuring yourself.
And now you know more confident where you are.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, much more confident. Yeah, I can, you know, I can follow my program. I can set machines up, which I was always a bit nervous about. I think I was more nervous about looking a bit silly, I think, and looking like I didn't know what I was doing. But you know, and just being judged by really fit, healthy people when you're starting out. But I have to say, I would never judge anybody who was just starting out in the gym. So I don't really know why I thought people would judge me, but they don't. They don't. And the people that I've spoken to in the gym, when I've said, would you mind if I, you know, use this, or have you finished with this machine, or how does this work? They've all been absolutely fine. And, you know, there's mirrors everywhere. You can see if people are staring at you, and they're not.
Yeah. At the end of the day, right? I think it's one of these things we don't know what to do. We don't feel confident ourselves, nobody else, and we put all assumptions on everybody else.
Yeah, we do. And, with my job, I mean, I'm an assistant head teacher, and I've been a teacher for a long time. I'm always in charge. And so stepping out of my comfort zone and not being in charge and not feeling like I really knew what I was doing was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah. We do need to get from comfort zone to really make the difference. Yeah. Other thing we have quite changed as well we get out from comfort zone was regard with alcohol consumption. Could you share as well how this has changed in your life?
Yeah, we're very sociable, and all our friends and our generation, we drink. The younger generation are not that bothered by drinking, but our generation, everything revolves sort of social events. You go out for a meal and you always get a taxi because there will always be drink on the table, or you meet your friends of an evening over a drink. There's never really any social occasions that don't involve alcohol. And I thought that was going to be really difficult explaining to people that I'm not really drinking very much anymore, or I'm cutting it right down for my health and because I want to make the most of the program that I'm on. And I was a bit apprehensive about peer pressure because it does happen. Even at our age, it does happen that people say, "Oh, one won't hurt you. Just have another one before you go home." But I've been quite surprised that people have been really intrigued by the whole program, and they're more interested in asking questions about it than they are trying to make me deviate from it. So that was a bit of a surprise as well.
Right. It's great that people around you support you, right, and are curious what you're doing. And yourself, how do you find in general because obviously, as you mentioned, you've been doing this for like social occasions for many, many years, but it always involves alcohol. And how do you find to cut it back on alcohol? How do you feel about it right now yourself?
I feel much better. It was always going to be a slower process because it's such a deep rooted habit. But making small changes, so less kind of bulky drinks, so less beer, I guess. And I always thought beer was a better option because it's not as strong, but it's just I guess it's volume instead.
Yeah.
Or just swapping out drinks. If you're out for a long time, if you're out for an evening or whatever, just swapping out drinks. And you find that people don't ask what's in your glass. They don't check what's in your glass. So whatever you like can be in that glass, and nobody will just. I'm just checking that's a vodka in there. Is that a vodka? And you're thinking, no, it's just a glass of water. But no one ever checks. So the little tricks really, just to stay true to what it is you want to do. But you don't always want to have to explain yourself. So just fooling people.
Yeah, no, true. Because again, right. So about alcohol consumption, what people say, it's again your own assumptions, right? What we think will other people say. But most importantly, right, you're still enjoying these things and you know what are the better choices. And obviously that all has paid back, we lost 12 weeks, 7 kg, improve health markers and everything else. And we're just going to progress from here. One more question. So before you joined to the program, do you had any hesitations or something you wasn't maybe sure, like something you felt like may hold you back to start this?
Obviously we met on Instagram, and it took me quite a long time to connect with you personally because I needed to check out that you weren't some fake internet. So that was the first apprehension, is doing something with somebody who's online, and just watching for a little bit and checking out things like this, really, the interviews with other people, and just sort of making sure that I wasn't going to get scammed,
Of course.
and that people get actual results. But what made me most apprehensive was it realistic? Because if it was a program that says, you'll drop a couple of stone in a month, or I knew I wouldn't. That's not realistic. It's not sustainable for me. I wouldn't stick to anything that happens that quickly. So I was apprehensive about whether the program would be something that I could slowly embed into my everyday life so that it just becomes normal, and then I'll stick to it. If it was loads of change all in one go, even if I knew all of those changes were the right thing to do, I wouldn't have stuck to them. And I would have just gone back to what I've always done. So it was being able to do it at my pace, I think. And people do things at different paces, and some people want really, really quick results for an event or something maybe. But I wanted it to be over a longer period of time, because I want it just to become my normal way of living, so that, my retirement is healthy. I'm fit and active in my 50s. Because this is just how I live. It's not just a quick fix. I mean, it's taken a long time to put all the bad habits in, so it's going to take a long time to get them all out.
No, it's very great that you are very realistic, right? And sounds like you just want to make sure, that you're not getting scammed. This program will be for you. And what gave you, if I can ask, what gave you the confidence that this is for me, and I'm trusting this guy to start to work with him?
It was the and you were quite willing to share information without me having signed up to the program. So you sent me some guides to have a look at, some advice around sort of diet and alcohol and exercise without requiring me to sign up. So you were quite free at sharing, information. And then we had a meeting, didn't we? It was, and it was a long one. It was, clear 2 hours of your diary, because we're going to need to talk this through. And I think it was that. It wasn't that generic, go to the gym and this is your program, without asking me any questions. It was 2 hours of what do you want to achieve? What's your life?
Take the time.
It was. And it was that. I knew from that it was going to be something bespoke, and something that would work for me at my size, at my height, at my age, with my goals in mind. It wasn't just going to be, here's something I've prepared for everybody, do that.
Thanks for sharing this. And it's absolutely what we're doing in Multiple Breakthrough Program. We want to make sure everything is for you, personalized, and we building habits, results, right? Same, especially with alcohol consumption, we did very, very slowly, so it's not overwhelming and it's sustainable, because end of the day, like you said, you want something that is a long-term fix, instead of being too quick. Even if you get results, it's not simply sustainable. And talking about information, so what you would say in these 3 months, what has been the biggest takeaways, biggest lessons? What was the best part you get out from this program?
Learning how to balance food, knowing sort of how much protein you can have, how many, what your carbs are. It's not fussy. It's not, it doesn't take a lot of faffing. And I can still have the foods that I've always had, but I know how to portion them up and proportion them out so that it works for fitness, building muscle, and weight loss at the same time. That's definitely one of the biggest takeaways. Another one would be being able to go to the gym and exercise properly and feel myself getting stronger.
Great. So these are, you definitely help progress. You can see in the pictures, you can see in results, how strong you are, how been progressing very well. And when it comes with coaching with myself, what you would say, what do you feel like is the biggest benefits you get from coach itself?
Accountability, I think, because there's not much time goes past in a week where I don't hear from you. So
of course, I will be in your case.
There's constant voice notes, even if it's just saying, hello Amanda, how's your day going? It's you're always there in the background, reminding me that I've got things to do, and I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for the right reasons. But it's the constant checking in. I think if it was only the Monday check-in that we did, then you can kid yourself during the week that, you know, I'll do everything
Yeah.
at the end of the week before he asks me the questions. But it, you know, it isn't. It's the
Yeah.
constant accountability, and just that positive reminder that you are doing this for the right reasons, and you're not there to tell me off. I'm an adult, you know, that's not going to work. You're there to just remind and encourage and be positive about the things that are happening. And I think the other thing is, you know, that the app that we use to tell me all the things I need to do. I love a tick list. And so I can just,
Yeah.
each day I can just go through and I can check off all the things that I need to do, which makes it feel a lot more realistic, because I know what I've got to do each day.
Yeah. So because I'm always here to pull you back, make you present. Remember why you are here. Yeah. To what you need to focus on, because life is busy, right? It's very easy to get distracted and forget about your health and fitness. Eventually, we're going to become like a second nature, something you just do without thinking. But it's, eventually, right? Even the smallest things that can happen and just sidetrack you. And especially when it comes with support, right, and encouragement. You know, I opposite you, right? I always say, I'm not a teacher. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to understand you, what's going on, and give you support instead of point a finger and tell you off. Because at the end of the day, right, things will happen, and as long as we openly communicate from both sides, our support here, right, we can only succeed. And last question, Amanda. What you would say another Amanda, let's say another lady in your position you were before you started, what you would tell the person now?
I think I'd say start now, because, you know, well, firstly, it's never too late, but, you know, secondly, I think if you start now, what you're doing is investing in your future. And what I really didn't want my future to be was full of ill health, because of the decisions I'd made when I was younger. Because of the life I've lived, you know, sort of during my 30s. So I'd say, you know, just start now. Give it a go now, because your future self, your older self in retirement, will thank you for it, because you will just be that much more healthy and that much more active. I mean, there, you know, people of my age have grandchildren now, you know, and they're going to want to be active and fit and spend time with their, you know, with their grandchildren. So I'd say don't be overwhelmed by the thought of changing long-standing habits. It's easier than you think. You're as you've always said, you're replacing a bad habit with a good one. You're not leaving a big void. There's not a big gap. You're filling that gap with something that makes you feel better. And also, don't be frightened of weights. Women of my age, perhaps, or maybe younger, can be a bit nervous about lifting weights, but it's really empowering to be able to go and lift weights alongside everybody else. So don't be overawed by that either.
At end of the day, right, we just need to fill up the gaps with the knowledge, with the blind spots, right? And when these gaps are filled, right, it's not really that hard, right? I think how you imagine it gonna be.
No, it's not what you imagine it's going to be. It's slow and steady progress, but you can feel it sort of week in, week out. And I think what you said right at the beginning was, if you can do at least 80% of what I'm suggesting that you do, you will see those results. So it doesn't matter if you forget something one week or something happens and it doesn't quite work out, because you're still doing the bulk of things that are making you progress. Always do something mentality, and am I doing a little bit better than the week before? That's all that matters in the long term. And I think once we change the way how we think, right, things is getting easier, because most of the time we are sabotaging ourselves. We just simply overthink and makes things harder in our mind. Will you agree? Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that you said quite early on when we were having these conversations was, what's the best thing about being an adult? Right. Well, you can do whatever you like, but what's the worst thing about being an adult? Well, you can do whatever you like. So, and you can you can tell yourself, well, I don't have to do these things. I'm a grown up. I'll do whatever I want. But actually, as a grown up, you can also make the decision to do the things that make you feel better.
Yeah, you can make decisions any second. That's a power about being adult. At any second, nobody is holding you back. Great, Amanda. Thanks. It was absolutely amazing share. Thanks for taking your time, and I will speak with you very soon.
You're very welcome. Thank you.